For anyone who thought that the upheaval in the for-profit college industry was over, or that it had been driven by an overzealous Obama administration determined to kill the industry, as some accused just a few short months ago, it's time to think again. Just last month, amid the loving regulatory embrace of the for-profit college industry by President Trump's DeVos-led Department of Education, two major for-profit college chains have collapsed. It proves true Department of Education Inspector General Kathleen Tye's recent warning that for-profit colleges represent a disproportionate risk to both students and American taxpayers. The rot in the for-profit college industry runs much deeper than just the failures of Corinthian and ITT Tech. On December 17th, for-profit college company Vatterott Colleges announced the immediate closure of its campuses nationwide, leaving 2,300 students stranded, including 200 at its campus in Fairview Heights, Illinois. The company had been in financial trouble for some time. It had already closed a number of campuses, including one in Quincy, Illinois. The Department of Education must now provide Illinois and other Vatterott students with clear information about their options, including their eligibility to receive a closed school discharge of their federal student loans and options to file a claim for a borrower defense discharge if they believe that they were defrauded by the university. In addition, the department must make sure that these students are not put at risk a second time by assuring that they have affordable, quality options to continue their education, such as community colleges. It would be adding insult and injury to allow these students to be lured by other predatory or financially shaky for-profit colleges, especially those facing state and federal investigation. Early in December, Education Corporation of America closed 75 campuses nationwide, affecting some 20,000 students. I'm pleased in this case the Department of Education developed a page on its website to inform ECA students about closed school discharges. But it must do more to communicate with affected students and ensure they're able to continue their studies at quality, affordable institutions. The vultures are already circling these students. In a recent letter, Steve Gunderson, a former member of the U.S. House of Representatives and lead lobbyist for the for-profit colleges and universities, announced that for-profit colleges are working to assist the students who were victims of these collapsed for-profit schools. And the 20 for-profit colleges already expressed interest in taking on these ECA students. It's simply double jeopardy to ask students once defrauded by this industry to be somehow rescued and lured into another contractual obligation by another school in the for-profit college industry. Over the holiday season, around 30 campuses owned by Dream Center Education Holdings closed. They included Argosy campus in Schaumburg, Illinois, and the Illinois Institute of Art, not to be confused with the Illinois Art Institute, a reputable organization. In August, I led several of my colleagues in writing to Secretary DeVos, asking her to provide immediate assistance to these students who had borrowed money to go to these worthless schools. We were concerned that Dream Center was not providing students with information about closed school discharges and was pushing them into other bad options, like enrolling in another for-profit school. Among other things, we asked the department to post an information page on its website to inform the students. Even weeks after the closure, we have yet to receive a response to this letter to the Department of Education. Adding to the confusion for students in Illinois is the fact that for months the Dream Center misrepresented that the Illinois Institute of Art campus was accredited, even when its accreditor had made it clear it was not. I've called on Secretary DeVos to investigate this misrepresentation, especially as it relates to these students' eligibility for borrower defense discharge. The National Student Loan Defense Network has filed a class action lawsuit on behalf of Illinois borrowers against the company for this misrepresentation, while the Department of Education in Washington remains silent. And now, reports have surfaced of new restructuring of these schools with few details but major implications for students. The Department of Education must immediately inform these students and the public about these changes. Earlier this month, 48 state attorneys general, including our own Illinois Attorney General, now retired, Lisa Madigan, and the District of Columbia reached a settlement with for-profit giant Career Education Corporation over consumer violations by the company. Under the settlement, Career Education Corporation agreed to forego collecting $493 million owed to it by 180,000 students nationally. $48 million in relief for the 17,000 students in Illinois who'd been exploited by this for-profit school. I have long spoken out about these abuses and the misconduct of Career Education Corporation schools, especially their infamous and now defunct Cordon Bleu and Harrington College of Design and Sanford Brown brands. These fellows really dream up some wonderful names for worthless schools. Just last week, for-profit college operator National American University Holdings announced substantial doubt that its finances would allow it to remain in business over the next year. The company, which was faced with lawsuits related to deceptive practices, runs campuses in about a dozen states and online. Its closure would affect thousands of students. How many more for-profit college collapses, closures, and state legal actions will it take before we get serious at the federal level, both in Congress and the Department of Education, about protecting students and taxpayers from this industry? It just amazes me that so many people in this body stand back and watch the so-called for-profit colleges and universities exploit students and their families, run up debts that they'll never be able to pay back, wait until they default, and then threaten them with lawsuits and collection agencies. Instead of realizing at the outset, these schools are not reputable. These students are lured into them with promises the schools can't keep. And they're also lured into debt that they'll never be able to repay. They'll never end up with a job that allows them to pay back the debt. Don't take my word for it. Think of two simple numbers. 9% of the graduates of high schools go to for-profit colleges and universities. 9%. 34% of all college student loan defaults are students from for-profit colleges and universities. 9% of the students, 34% of the defaults. Why would that be happening? Well, because they overcharge the students and they provide them with a worthless diploma if they stick it out and don't drop out. These schools are a blight on higher education and an exploitation of innocent students and their families. The ultimate losers, when their debts are discharged, American taxpayers that subsidize these miserable, good-for-nothing schools and then watch as they're not repaying their debts because the students can't, and the taxpayers end up the losers again. If that is capitalism at work, save this country, because it is a terrible outcome for the students, for their families, and for American taxpayers.